Anytime.
Call the meeting to order. Parish of Ascension Recreation Committee meeting, October 14, 2021, 5:30. We have called to order. Roll call. We have Mr. Lawler and Mr. Turner's here. Dow is not here, and Joel Robert's not here. This time we have our invocation and pledge of allegiance by Mr. Lawler, please.
Dear Lord, please give us the guidance to make good decisions each and every day. Thank you for our lives. Thank you for our health. Please be with all of us at this time, including those that are suffering health issues right now. In your name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
Pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Let the record note that the Mr. Dow Park and Mr. Joe Roberts not here. Having a public comment. Anyone looking to speak? They can sign up at this time. Okay, we have the number 4. We have the director's report. Mr. Michael King, please.
All right, good evening, everyone. So, yeah, we've had quite a bit going on lately with the hurricane and getting into fall programming and whatnot. So, we don't actually have any action items on the agenda, but I did want to take this time to go through and kind of update you on everything that we have going on and plans going forward. So there is quite a bit, as you'll see. We have discussions about Hurricane Ida, vandalism in the parks, ballpark lighting project, fall sports updates, a conversation about our field and light rentals, our Tyler Parks and Rec and Tyler Equipment Asset Management Systems that we're implementing, as well as an update on the former National Guard Armory in Donaldsonville that we're working to convert to a rec center, and then wrapping it up with some upcoming events we have. So first off, just kind of wanted to start talking about Hurricane Ida and its impacts, and start that conversation off with the shelter that we're running at Ascension Gym. So basically, during an event like this and a state of emergency, the recreation department is tasked with operations for the shelters, should we have to open one. This shelter was open for 26 days, and at one point it had 165 residents in it. There were several hundred throughout the entire hurricane, and the recreation department again was leading operations. We were all there for the first full week, and then we did work with American Red Cross to come in after that in kind of a supporting role. And I really want to thank all the recreation staff. They were awesome during this. Everybody was out there working, and then at the same time we're working to clean up the parks as we could go on through that. So there was a lot going on, and we're really happy with the way everybody did. I also want to give special shout out to some of our permit staff and animal control, as well as OEP for all the assistance that they were giving. So as far as damage to the parks, most of it was dealing with damage to trees, fences, awnings, so basically some coverage on the dugouts and the bleachers, things like that, as well as some damage to the lights. And we did have a little bit of additional wind and water damage that we're investigating to some of our community centers. So just threw a couple pictures up there. I do have plenty more, but basically you can kind of see this first picture. There was a large awning right there by the concession stand at Butch Gore. The middle picture, there used to be a building there that housed some of our equipment. There was a little storage shed. And the picture on the top right, that's what a lot of our backstops actually look like right now, or right after the storm. We've done quite a bit of work to fix those, but that's kind of what we were facing there, and then a lot of downed trees and fences. So our team has really been working to get things back in order to even be able to have a fall season, which of course we'll talk a little bit more about as we get into this. So unfortunately, we have had this year quite a bit of vandalism in our parks, and even more these are the two most recent events. The first three pictures on the left is at Butch Gore Park. Just some kids basically broke in, knocked out the windows in the press box, threw everything out of there, attempted to break into the concession stand. Now, and then on the right you have at Oak Grove, pulling down the sink, some other items in both restrooms, just basically treating it like garbage and destroying some things just to do it. I want to make it very clear that we are investigating all of these and we are having success in finding people. We are working with the sheriff's office and they are going after the offenders. So we did catch somebody in the case at Butch Gore. They're still working on the one at Oak Grove. We have had some other issues out at Paula Park with people driving four-wheelers through, rutting up all the grass and everything. And one of those resulted in somebody getting their ATV impounded. So we are going after people. So I want that to be very clear that, don't treat our parks like this. And that kind of leads to this next one. There's been quite a bit going around about public dumping in parks. So basically people coming into our parks, throwing all their trash, filling up our dumpsters, and then leaving things outside of it. So if you look the top left, that's one at Oak Grove. The one below that is at Butch Gore, and you'll see a mattress, some chairs, just everybody bringing their own household trash and things they don't want anymore and leaving it there. And I will say we've also been, if you look in the bottom right corner, it's kind of difficult to see, but that is a picture of someone doing it. We do have people watching, posting this stuff on Facebook. We have been trying to get some license plates, and in one case we were successful in doing that. An APSO did go to someone's house, and I believe they gave them a ticket for that. So this is a finable offense. It's a theft of service. I mean, that picture of the third one, of the one in Darrow, that's a Monday after they dump it on, after it gets cleaned out on a Thursday. So just over the weekend, it gets filled up so much that it gets dumped around on the side. And it just, we're working really, really hard to clean up our parks and make this a place to play, a place to be, a place you want to go. And it's just a shame that things like this keep happening. So know that it is a community effort of trying to stop this. And so I want to encourage everybody, if you see somebody doing something like this, be smart about it, but let them know that this is not okay. It's not okay behavior with any of this. And so going forward, we are definitely working to get security systems in the park. So we are working on security cameras, Wi-Fi, things like that, so that we have reliable internet to have our so that we can monitor these security cameras and things of that nature. So that is something that we're working on. We're also working on hiring some staff in the beginning of the year to go around, make sure everything's cleaned up in the evenings and weekends, making sure that we are locking up buildings, securing things, so that we can at least cut down on some of this, because it's getting out of hand at this point. All right, a little bit happier note. We do have the LED ballpark lighting project happening at Butch Gore Park, Roger Kluwat Park, and Stevens Park. And at Butch Gore, we're getting four fields lit, 2 at Kluwat and 4 at Stevens. So the bad part about this is there have been, similar to what's happening with the turf fields right now, we're running into all these delays through weather, through all the rain we had over the summer, the hurricane, and then we're also running into where we are now. The poles are up, but we're waiting on electrical materials to come in due to issues with shipping, supply chain, all of that kind of thing. So we were hoping to have had all of that ready to go for the fall, but obviously that has been pushed back. And we just got an updated schedule that shows we should be wrapped up with that by the end of December now, which at least does help us as we go into the spring for our spring seasons to have those ready to go. So speaking of all that, our fall sports update, and this is the one that's a real big bummer. The AYSA had to cancel fall softball due to some of the storm damage, as you saw with those backstops, not being able to get the fields playable. They were also having issues with the lighting, and since the new lights aren't installed yet, we kind of ran into an issue of finding safe fields with enough light to deem them safe to play. And unfortunately, we just had to call it off. There wasn't going to be enough time to get it in by the time we got anything playable. So been working with the league director. We are setting up some clinics. Hopefully we can release some information about that soon. Just free clinics for everybody to sign up so that they can come at least get some training in during the fall. And then we're looking to make some additional park improvements before returning in the spring. So we do have quite a few projects we're going to do there, starting in the fall and then moving on into next year. And that actually is for everywhere, starting with backstops. A lot of the fences were damaged. We didn't plan on having to replace all of them right away, but it is going to be, it's kind of pushing us along to go ahead and make some of those improvements. So AP Baseball, they were fortunate out at Stevens Park that once we got it cleaned up, there was just a lot, it looked bad at first, but once we cleaned up the awnings and the trees, there was no real significant structural damage to the park other than one light pole went through a fence. But once we got that cleaned up and got the fence back up, we were good to go there. So we were able to have it safe enough to play. They started play on October 6th. And they're going strong. They have 280 registered for fall ball, which is quite a significant amount for the fall. They were actually planning on capping it at 250. So things are looking good there. Moving on to basketball, because believe it or not, we're about in basketball season. So AYBA starts their registration online on October 15th. And West Ascension Biddy Basketball starts their registration this Saturday, October 16th, and they'll be holding registration from 9 to noon at Frank Sotil Pavilion at the Safe and Healthy event that we are doing with Our Lady of the Lake Ascension, which we'll talk about in just a moment as well. All right, so we also looked through our field and light rentals because obviously with all that we had going on in the fall, it did cause some delays with what we would normally rent out. But kind of at the end of the day, this is what we're looking at, and this is for the fall. In the spring, we could even be left with less. In terms of fields that are available for rent, we have 4 fields in East Ascension and 4 fields in West Ascension. That's about all we can safely say we can rent without trying to figure out the rest of the recreation scheduling and going around that. So that's not a ton of slots available for people that would like to rent lights and fields. So just to kind of let y'all know the way that this typically goes, recreation programming is always going to be first. You know, that's what we're doing it for. So it's our programming. We're going to plan it first, and then we're going to try to work to fill in the gaps. And I think something that will help all of this, at least in allowing the public to see what's going on, a little more transparency, is that in the future, we're going to have our Tyler Parks and Rec online system set up. And what we can do with that is we'll be able to see all the available rental slots and pay online. So that's going to be huge to be able to kind of see where all those slots are. Somebody can go online, reserve it, pay for it, knock it all out right there as they go forward. And then the timeline will basically stay the same. We're going to go ahead and schedule our recreation program, and so we'll just open it up for a season at a time so that, so you can register during that, and then we move on with our programming and on to the next one. Okay. So speaking of Tyler Parks and Rec, TPAR, that is our new registration system for all of our programming and rentals. So everything's going to go through that now. All our program registration, of which we're starting to plan a lot for 2022, our Pavilion and Recreation Center rentals, all our field rentals, anything going through that can be reserved and paid for through this system. And like I said, you'll kind of see when it's available to be able to go through it. The exceptions on that being that there are those contracted sports that we have, so they'll still go through their websites for registration. It works out a little easier if they continue to take that through their websites. And we will definitely be having a transition period and being able to have our staff trained and provide assistance in person as people come in on how that new program works. We understand it will be a lot to transition into. People are used to coming in and signing up for things, calling and signing up for things, and then coming in and paying in person. So we're going to try to transition that as best we can. The second part of that is the Tyler Equipment Asset Management, and I don't want to go too far into this. I know Brandon O'Day with IT is going to be giving a presentation to y'all on this at some point in the near future. But basically, this is our electronic work order system. We'll be able to, perform maintenance, keep track of everything, all our equipment hours. We're building it right now and basically plan on tracking everything down to basically trash cans in parks, how many we have, where they are, different lights. So we know that bulb 4 is out on field 1 at Butch Gore Park, and we can kind of go through it that way. So we're looking at a go live date for Tyler Parks and Rec. That's our registration system again for January 10th. And I believe, don't hold me to this, the EAM is at least projected to go February 1st of 2022. And then we also want to just give a quick update on the Donaldsonville Armory. Don't have much to provide an update on, unfortunately, for this. We have done inventory surplus and auction the items that are in there, and we're working to clear that out so that we can go forward with renovating that. We did just get feedback for the HVAC grant we were looking to get. We were denied that, but we are looking for additional funding to help climatize that gym and the building as a whole. There isn't a current timeline, but it is definitely a project, a priority for us that we are trying to move forward with as quickly as possible, knowing that it's important that'll be our first real dedicated recreation center in West Ascension. So that's something that's really important to us, and we really want to get moving with.
Okay, just a minute before you.
Yeah, go ahead.
I'm listening at you saying about the recreation center,
Mm-hmm.
the National Guard Center.
Yes, sir.
So you saying you don't have a timeline on
No,
the process on what steps are we going to be taking and looking at when are we going to have this in full motion? Because and the reason I say that, Mr. King, is we are depending on the city of Donaldsonville, and it's been some issues with the gym, and they hadn't got it fixed yet, and we explained that to the city. We need to get it done, and we hadn't got it done yet, and it's going to be a situation that we're going to have this coming basketball season with COVID being as though the school's gym that we'll be using. I'm not sure how that's going to work, and I'm wanting to make sure that we would be able to pay a little more attention to the National Guard gym and trying to get this thing going. And I'm sure you all are doing everything you can, but I'm just wanting to make everybody aware that we are working very hard on trying to get this situation solved and try to get those kids in the gym, and we're not depending on someone else, that we can have our own West Ascension recreational complex is my goal in terms of getting a center, so to speak, on the West Bank, and I think that is long overdue that we have one of those, and I think the kids really deserve one due to the fact that we have the Lamar Dixon on the East Bank, and things are going well, and within the near future, I say in the near future, I'm not talking 10 years from now, and not 5 years from now. I'm hoping we can get something in order to where we can go forward and getting that West Ascension Recreation Complex, a building from the parish, West Ascension, on the West Bank, that we can be able to control ourselves. Because depending on someone else it's very tough right now.
Understood.
And,
Yeah.
hopefully we can, get some meat and bones and get some stuff going. And I know y'all are doing that.
Absolutely.
Y'all are doing that, but we need to get and try and get a little more attention
Okay.
on doing that, getting that done.
Yes, sir. And then our last little thing here is just tell you about 2 upcoming events we have. So this Saturday, October 16th from 9 a.m. to noon, we have the Safe and Healthy Family event at the Frank Sotil Pavilion in Donaldsonville. And this is an event that we're partnering with Our Lady of the Lake Ascension. And they're going to have some free healthy snacks, DJ, some exercise classes, car seat safety checks. They're even going to be doing some flu vaccinations and COVID-19 vaccinations. We're going to have an inflatable obstacle course out there. We're going to have a nice little day out of it. And like I said, we are also going to be running basketball registration that day as well. So, I'd love to see everybody out there 9 a.m. to noon this Saturday. And then the next one is for the new dog park at Prairieville Park. We're finally ready to roll with that. We did have some setbacks there, especially with the hurricane and some other storms this year, but they're ready to go. So ribbon cutting Friday, November 5th, 9 a.m. And then we're going to have a big grand opening on Saturday, November 6th from 3 p.m. to 6 p.m. And Leadership Ascension is still working on securing all their vendors for that, but they're going to have lots of activities going on out there as well. So really excited about both of these.
Is that it?
That's all I got.
Thank you very much, Mr.
Welcome.
King. We appreciate it. Mr. Compton, is there anything you'd like to say? Or you have anything that you,
No, sir, I'm just here for the wonderful meeting.
audience?
Crowd control.
The crowd control, okay. Thank you, Mr. Compton. Sir?
I had a question.
Mr. Turner has a question. Go ahead. Yeah,
Just hit his name there.
Turner, okay.
Yes. My first question is regarding the trash cans. Is there any way we could put some type of surveillance camera on either side to capture the license plate numbers? I remember they was having that problem in my district at one point, and the sheriff's department put cameras there and was able to alleviate that issue.
Yes, sir. That's part of what we're looking into at some of these areas. Again, the issue we're running into is having reliable Wi-Fi. Most of these need to back up to a server for us to be able to monitor it. Because a lot of the problem is that when we've put some stuff up in the past, the cameras have been damaged too and things like that. So we need to really make sure we can get back up. So that is definitely part of what we're looking at, is putting something over near those, anywhere that have been trouble spots that we know of so far. So we are definitely looking at that.
Okay. And the second question I have is status of the gym. How's the gym renovation going?
We were just talking about that. I forgot to put that on the list there. Yeah. So if you've been over there, things are moving along pretty quickly. They got a roof up and everything. Moving along, it's looking good. So
Yeah,
we've got they're basically working on connecting to the shared concession lobby area now, and they're getting the roof up and we're moving along. As far as I know, it's right on track. I have not been
I
told.
passed over there yesterday.
Yeah.
It looks pretty good. The frame is up. It's tight to the other gym, and it seems as though they're moving along pretty good. Looks good. In answering Mr. Turner asked a question also about the cameras, do we have any signs up with those dumpsters? Do we have any signs up, or any warning signs, or any signs stating that we shouldn't be dumping, or who should be dumping, or what should be dumping, or is there anything in that area stating that other than somebody knowing it, looking at TV, or just or do we just have a warning sign up?
At
saying
some
you
of
can't
them,
dump?
yeah, at
Which
some
they
of
may
them
know
we
they
have
can't
no
dump,
dumping,
again,
but
yeah. Do
we
we
can
have the
be
sign?
we can be more clear about what public should not dump in here.
Yeah.
This is the result. You can face a fine, all that kind of thing.
Right.
We can definitely put more up with that.
Yeah, I would think that would it would help, and then you never know. So at least they'll know that they're not supposed to be dumping, which they know. Some of them know it, some of them don't.
Right.
You'd have to convince me that those people can read.
All right. I'm not, I didn't say that. I'm not getting into that. We're not getting into that. Oh, okay, is there anything else? Anything else? Okay, Mr. Lawler.
Yeah, a couple things. First of all, I want to thank Michael because I know we had a lot of trash got piled up around the skate parks. The trash cans overflowed, and you got somebody out there right away. It is used all the time. I was out there last night waiting in line for something, and I could see a bunch of kids out there. They were all playing with it, and there were even some really young, like 3 or 4 year olds, and some of the older kids were helping them. And when I saw them all leave, I realized they didn't even know each other. So it was really a cool thing. To see a bunch of people out there using it. So it was nice, and it was all clean. Everything was nice and cleaned up. I was going to announce also kind of an interesting thing is going on with the Ascension Flight Soccer Club with their Balloon Cup this year. They've partnered with the Homa Terrebonne Soccer Association because they were completely devastated by Homa, and they usually have the Gobbler Cup. Which is held in November, and they're not going to be able to hold that. They've really had their season decimated. So they're partnering with them to have the Balloon Cup this year, so the two clubs will work together to try and help out our neighbors down in Homa, Terrebonne area. The last thing was, where do we stand on getting a master plan? When we talked about the moratorium months ago, part of one of the proposals was in 6 months we'd have a master plan for recreation. And like I've always said, we don't need a moratorium to do things, so.
Right. So given that it is part of that overall big plan, I'm going to defer to Mr. Ricky Compton over here to.
So during the next phase of the contract with our consultant for the moratorium, Kendi Keast, we're going to begin the engagement process and have multiple meetings with the code advisory panel, the commission, parish staff, and the council. This process will focus on many different issues, which can include the discussion of the potential need for a recreation master plan. But in the meantime, what I would like to focus on is what questions you're wanting this master plan to answer. What are your goals for the master plan, and what are your priorities? I truly believe we don't need to pay a consultant $300,000 to $500,000 to come up with that.
No.
For the first time in the history of Ascension Parish, we have a professional running the recreation department. And I would love to spend those dollars on actual improvements in parks as opposed to a bound booklet that tells us our parks are underfunded and undermaintained. So what Michael and his staff are doing right now through the budgeting process is building a plan for the next 5 years of the improvements we're going to make at our parks, where we're going to go after more grant dollars, how we're going to use the American Rescue Plan dollars. All that stuff is part of our vision. But honestly, until we get the parks that we have up to a standard that we can all be proud of, I don't need a document to tell me that we have lousy parks. I just don't need to spend money for somebody else to tell us that. I mean, I trust what they're doing. I know the plan that we're working on. I see the results that our Dirk Decato and our grounds maintenance crews that they're making. They're making leaps and bounds improvements. I think spending money on a master plan right now is foolish.
Well, I can certainly understand that, but you said a potential need for a master plan. I think there's a definite need for a master plan, and this has been talked about for years now. Part of the concern is that without a plan, it's hard to go get grant dollars. It's hard to go to get sponsors, and we're not doing that right now. When the administration put up their moratorium plan, it said in 6 months, that's what they wanted, and that was part of that. So I was expecting that in 6 months, we'd have a master plan for recreation because that's what was promised. So I mean, to say that I'm not saying we need to go spend money to get this done, but we need to look at our parks and in the state that they're in now and have a plan for each of those. Is what steps are we going to take to bring them to a standard that we expect to be, top notch? What is the long-term plan? I mean, I saw the budget. And I agree that we can do some of that stuff, but I look at a lot of our parks and I want to get down to the nitty gritty and say, hey, at Butch Gore, this is what's needed. And once we have an idea of what's needed, then, and we've talked about this before, we can work on creating a nonprofit, kind of like Breck has, to go after and get grant dollars and to go and get donations and sponsorships so we can get that done. But at this moment, I can't you know, I'm not going to do it personally because I'm an elected official, but we can't have somebody go to Shell or to BASF and say, hey, this is what we want to do at Stevens Park. We want to put up new backstops and new plants, and we want y'all to sponsor the field, because we don't have that. We need that before we can do this. That is the need for a plan, and this has been going on for years, that we have been running rudderless. And I mean, I know that we're working on it. I know that the storm set us back on some things, but I think it's really important that every park individually has a plan so that we can go and get dollars that are out there, because we have very large corporations. We hear about ITEP all the time, that we're giving these corporations a lot of money. And I know, I've talked to some of them, they want to come to us and sponsor things, but they're not just going to give us money. They want to pay for a backstop. They want to pay for a new surface. They want to pay for a pavilion, not just say, here's the money and y'all go do it. And absent having a plan, you know, I mean, Coach, on the west side, we've got some of the biggest facilities over there as far as commercial facilities that we have in the parish, industrial. They want to help over there. And we do have some opportunities, but we want that for the entire parish. That's why I think having a master plan is important, and it go down to the level of each and every park on how do we improve those, and then look long term. You know, I saw we had a BMX track. I know several of us have been talking about that. That's really cool. I mean, you know, that's the kind of thing that we want to do. And yeah, in 5 years down the road, we'll start talking about that. And I know Chase and I have already talked to some friends that we know about that sort of thing. But to get to that point, we make that part of a plan, we're going to go get sponsors for that. That's why I think a plan is important. And I'm not saying that we have to spend on it, but if we can't do it and we need to spend the money on something, we can spend some money on that, because it's going to bring in money. It's an investment in the future. It's not just throwing money on a plan that's not going to bring us anything. As you've seen, we have a transportation plan. It's not the same as recreation would be, but because we have that plan, we've brought in over $16 million. Whereas before, we didn't have a transportation plan, and we were not bringing in that kind of money. And we're about to do the same thing with drainage. The stormwater plan is, once we have a plan, the goal is then to go out there and get federal funds, because our state and federal officials want to see that there's a plan for something, and that's how they decide to give us money, that we're not willy-nilly doing things. That's why I think a plan is important, and hopefully we move forward on it, like I think was kind of the intention early on. That's it.
That's it. Thank you, Mr. Lawler. In moving on, I would like to have the in further our next meeting, and we would have, I see we left out the chair's report, and in the future, I'd like for you to put it on, if it's the chairman's report. I'd like for you to just put it on. I have some stuff I'd like to talk about. I'd like to bring up our next meeting. Just slide it in wherever you want to slide it.
I do have one quick question.
We have Mr. Turner like to say something.
And it's just a quick question. As far as, do we have anybody right now that's in the administration that tries to request donation from companies or anything of that nature?
We don't believe that there's a mechanism in place right now that allows us to do that. We have advised the groups that we have cooperative endeavors with that if they want to go out and get sponsorships, so Ascension Flight can go out and get sponsorships, Impact Sports with Little League can go out and get sponsorships. We currently don't have a mechanism that allows us to do that without going through Lamar Dixon. Because they're an enterprise fund, they have different set of rules, so they could get the money sponsors to recreation, but it's going to route through, it's just complicated. So currently, no, we don't have that.
Okay.
And just to follow up, that's part of what Councilman Lawler was talking about in terms of setting up a nonprofit or a foundation whose mission is to raise funding on behalf of the rec department. So that's an option. We're also looking into what it might take to write into ordinance some kind of way of accepting funds for sponsors, naming rights, things like that.
I mean, Aaron's a defense attorney, so insurance defense attorney, so he has a lot of free time, so I'm sure he can knock that out for us.
I would welcome it.
I'm sure the Turtle Law Firm will sponsor an entire gym or something.
That sounds good. Any more questions?
It'd be the
That's
Ogeron Turner Gym or the Turner Ogeron Gym that was plaintiff's money.
Okay, in the chairman's report, I'd like to start off. These are just some of the things that I've been just looking at throughout the course of the last 2 years in terms of implementing in the parks on West Ascension that we have. I'm hoping that we can get a list of these things that I have and some of the stuff that I'll be telling you. Me and Michelle, we talked about it, and I just wanted to emphasize and just go over some of the stuff that I look forward to having in these parks. And I'll start off with Lemonville Park. In the near future, I'm hoping that we can get lights out there in the park. It's a beautiful park, and I'm hoping that we can plan to put some lights out in the Lemonville Park. We have the spray park. I see that we'll have, looking in the budget, the spray park seems as though we'll be having that coming. We talked about, Ms. Michelle and we talked about the widening of the road inside the park in the circle, and a walkway going to the Pavilion. Because when it rains, it's very muddy. They can't get to the Pavilion without tracking mud underneath the Pavilion in the Lemonville Park. Also, we've been having trouble with I guess with COVID and the storm came and all of the other stuff. We had plans on doing the drainage that's out there with the water, and also getting the upgrades on the park in Lemonville, as far as the painting of the bathrooms, and painting of the rails and different stuff like that. The basketball goals and those sort of upgrades that we need to look at doing. But again, we've had such a rough time with the COVID and different things shutting us down, and the storm came and pretty much pushed us back a little further than what we were. So that completes Lemonville Park. The Modest Park, I noticed they didn't have it. We talked about putting one in all of those parks in the outer area, West Ascension. We would like to also put one, not as the same size. They have one in Lemonville, but also in the Modest Park. Pretty much the same thing. The painting of the bathroom, the basketball goals.
Excuse me, Coach.
Yes.
You didn't say what we're putting in at Modest.
Okay, the spray park.
Oh, spray park. Okay.
Yeah, we talked about that. Talked about putting one in the spray park. Not as big as the one that we have in Donaldsonville. A minimal size. We also, again, pretty much the same thing with the painting of the bathrooms. We haven't had a chance to get to any of that stuff because of the COVID and the storm, and we've had the last 2 years have been pretty rough. The upgrade in that park also. In Aben Park, had there been any luck on finding in the Aben Park, any luck on finding any land to put that park?
So as far as A-Bend, there's not, even if we were to buy it from somebody, there's just really not, I guess, any land that would be suitable for a park right there. So it may be something that's relatively nearby that we're looking for. We're still searching on that, but we're trying to find something that's along the main road there and that would still, be able to function as a park that's not tucked back in like that one was.
No, right.
That wasn't ideal already. So that's kind of what we're running into. But we're working on some ideas with that. It may be branching out a little bit from where we were.
So have we did anything for sending anyone out to look for any property or any in the surrounding areas? Do they have anything within that area? Because they do have a few spots off the highway. I'm not sure whether they want to sell it or not, but they do have a few spots
Yeah,
off the highway
we're
in Lemonville, A-Bend.
we're definitely willing to ask. We're just trying to find something that we think would be suitable enough for a quality sized park. So we're looking at lot sizes and all that kind of what's surrounding it, that kind of thing. We are actively doing that. So.
Okay. All right, moving right along to Lorry Park. Me and Michelle talked doing some upgrades in the Lorry Park. One idea that I had that I would like to enhance on is the putting a medium-sized pavilion in the Lorry Park, sort of like we have on Tebow Drive in the Frank Sotil Park. And these things that we're talking about, this should be put it in the near future in terms of getting that a medium-sized pavilion, not as big as the one that we have in the Frank Sotil Park.
Would we be
Frank
replacing? We'd be replacing the two small pavilions that are out there now.
Well, we have a spot out there that we can put a nice medium-sized pavilion along with with what we have.
Okay.
We're not moving anything. We have a spot out there where we can put it. And the reason I say that is the Frank Sotil Park is a very usable facility. This facility, as I speak, and Michelle can pretty much back me up on this park, this pavilion it's been used every week for the last, I would think, Michelle, for the last 6 to 8 months. We've been it's been rental out for the last 6 months or 8 months every weekend. And it's very usable and it's very friendly like, so I would like to look at possible the Lorry Park that we would be able to look at putting one. Yes, sir, Mr. Compton.
Can you describe how big a medium pavilion is? Like, so we have an idea of how big you're looking for?
I would think, let's look at downsizing the one we have. And when you're talking about describing one, I would say something a little smaller than what we have with the Frank Sotil Park.
Okay.
Is that clear? You can picture that? Something a little smaller, not as big as the one we have, but something a little smaller that we can put in the piece of land that we have in the Lorry Park.
Oh, yes, sir. Have you seen the pavilion at Hillaryville?
No, sir. Haven't seen it.
You should go look at that one, because that'd be probably what I would describe as a medium, right?
Okay.
Yeah, that's medium.
Okay, it's nice. You been up? That's your district? Okay. All right, nice. All right. All right. All right. Also, I just wanted a question on the setting in, on the recreational chairman setting in on interviews on members of the board. And also I wanted to ask the question that we changed the name of the West Ascension Recreation Director to what it is today. And why was that name changed?
There was no name change as far as I understand. I don't think there's been a West Ascension Recreation Director since there was a West Ascension Recreation Commission or something like that. I don't know how long that's been, but as far as my understanding is there's one Recreation Director for Ascension Parish, and that we added that program coordinator role for the parish. And so there is no one overseeing just West Ascension Recreation.
So
I oversee recreation for the parish, including West Ascension.
Okay. So the position that's at hand at this point, what is the name and what is the position?
Are you referring to the recreation program coordinator position that we just interviewed
Yes.
for?
Yes, sir.
It's
Yes.
recreation program coordinator.
And what's his?
So they will be doing programming for the parish. We need somebody dedicated to do programming for the parish.
What is his or her status? And I say status in job duties. So we have or curriculum
As in the job description?
Yeah.
Yeah, it was the job description that was posted for the most part, but it's primarily, creating, developing, implementing all programming for the parish, all recreation programming. So kind of getting us away from all the sports programming, because we kind of have that all worked out through either contracts or people that we have lined up to run that. So this is going to be programming our recreation centers, parks, all those kinds of things, coming up with new innovative things, looking at summer camp, after school, health and wellness programs. They'll also work with scheduling the recreation centers and things of that nature, and help set us up as we move forward to put more programs in.
So it won't just be basketball, baseball,
Correct.
soccer,
Correct.
volleyball.
Looking beyond that.
Yes. And I should say, I'm not one to, I mentioned this a while back, and leaving out our handicapped kids. I would hope that we can get something going for those the disabled kids that we have within the parish on West Ascension.
Absolutely agree, and not just in West Ascension, everywhere.
Yeah,
As
for the whole
we've
parish.
discussed, my background, how I got my start was working with people with disabilities in recreation programming. So it's near and dear to my heart, and that's something we definitely want to do throughout the parish. It is definitely coming, and it's long overdue.
I would think that we would open that up, give them an opportunity to participate in some of the stuff that we have to offer. Now, my other question, again, I asked about the interviewing of the chairman being able to sit in on the interview, or if the chairman can't, a member of the board, what would be the problem of that happening?
The administration made the decision that these are employees of the parish, and members of the council are not going to be invited to interviews.
Okay. That's it?
That's it.
No explanation on why?
They're employees of the parish.
So you telling me that the councilman or councilman won't be able to sit in on an interview, observing, not looking to do anything other than sit in and observe the process of what's going on? That's what you're telling me? We
Yes,
can't
sir.
do. And your reason is the administration chose that we can't do it. Did
Yes,
they
sir.
give you an answer on why? Do you have an answer on why they said that you can't do it? A councilman cannot go into an interview.
The answer was that they are employees of the parish. They're not employees of the council.
So what that, I'm not understanding, because they're employees of the parish, why can't they sit in on interviews?
Well, we wouldn't allow the general public to sit in on our job interviews. I mean,
Well,
it's,
we're not general public, we're a councilman. We are part of a recreation board. I'm the recreation director. I would like to sit in, but you telling me I can't sit in on any interviews. I'm not there to hire nobody, I'm not there to fire nobody, I'm not there to suggest anything. I'm just wanting to sit in and observe the process of what's going on. And that seems as though that's going on deaf ear. So I'm wanting to get an answer from the administration on why can't the chairman, or if the chairman can't sit in, a member of the board can sit in on the interviews for the hiring process moving forward. And I'd like to have an answer for that at our next meeting.
okay.
Thank you. We also want to announce that we also having the softball, Ms. Michelle, you would like to speak on that? Softball registration, adult?
So adults have finished their registration in Donaldsonville. This is the first time ever that we have an adult softball program over there. We had 5 teams. One team ended up combining, so we have 4 teams. So for a first time ever adult softball league, it's good. They're playing on the 290 field. They're practicing right now. They are going to have a hit around on Saturday during the event that we have going on, and games will start shortly. They'll play their games on Saturdays for right now because of lighting issues and things like that. They needed a big enough field to be able to not hit it out the park. So we picked the 290 field so they can play round robins all day on Saturdays.
Okay. My other question was the update on the La field. Do we have any movement on the La field?
In terms
We
of
had damage on the
the
La
storm
field.
damage, yeah, we're still assessing. We've got a structural engineer that is working to tell us how the bleachers are. We've been cleaning up and putting the fences back up. We're working on that part, and we have to, but the grandstand is far beyond what we can do ourselves, so we're calling in a structural engineer to tell us if it's safe or not, and then we'll go from there.
So the structure engineer pretty much lead us in direction whether we
Yeah, I
should
mean, they'll tell us if
either
it's,
tear it down or repair it or whatever else we need to do.
they'll let us know what we're able to do.
All right. I would ask at this time to, and I know I talked to Michelle about it, have communication with the high school, Catholic school, on operating the softball fields because of the adult softball. We had an incident that we had that it was only miscommunication on what went wrong. So we can get with the Ascension Catholic and get their format on what they're doing and how things are going, and we can coordinate our practice and the things that we're doing out in the park and get that going a little smoother than what it is. But again, everything is going pretty good. Mr. King, I appreciate you, Mr. Compton. Thank you all. We are doing a good job. Ms. Michelle, good job, doing a good job. Things are looking up in West Ascension and in Ascension Parish in itself. So with that said, I also like to thank OEP. I heard Mr. King mention OEP. OEP has been excellent in doing some things, a lot of things in West Ascension. It's been working pretty good. So we want to thank them for stepping up and making things easier as the storm passes. So with that said, that's pretty much, nope, I got one more thing. The Donaldsonville contract.
So the contract with the agreement with the city to facilitate recreation programming, the updated one has been sent to the mayor. We are waiting on them to bring to their city council to sign, and then we'll bring it back to our council.
So we are still having the city pay the $46,000.
As I understand it, the proposal was drafted in such a way that the city is going to commit to spending those dollars that they normally paid to the parish to run recreation in West Ascension. They're going to spend those dollars to make improvements to the Lemon Center. That's what the agreement states.
Okay, and just to make sure that is what's going to be done, we need to make sure that that's in writing, that the money that's going to be spent is going to be spent on the Lemon Center alone and nothing else.
That agreement is going
Earmarked
to,
for the Lemon Center.
that agreement is going to come to the council.
Okay.
And you guys will approve it. And if you don't like that language, then don't approve it, amend the language, and we'll send it back to the city of Donaldsonville.
I have no problem with it, Mr. Compton. None whatsoever. I just need to be clarified on what was being done, and we can move forward. Thank you very much. That's all I have. Is there any other questions? If not, I need a motion to adjourn.
Motion to to adjourn.
Motion by Mr. Turner and second by Mr. Lawler to adjourn this meeting of West Ascension, Recreation of Ascension Parish. Adjourn.